Hello, awesome agents. Thank you for joining me for this recording. A couple of things. I want to give credit first where credit is due. This presentation was created and put together by Floyd Wickman. If you ever get a chance to attend a Floyd Wickman program or course, either now or in the near future, I highly recommend it. It has changed millions of agents' lives over the course of the 30 plus years that they've been teaching agents how to effectively help consumers, and this is just one of them. So the reason why I'm making this video is that an agent in our office by the name of Jean approached me today and said, hey, I was invited to someone's house. The seller wants to show me the property, and she's asking other agents to look at the property as well. What do I say? What do I do when I get there? And I immediately thought, well, this person clearly is trying to sell their home their own and elicit the help of real estate agents. So when and if you meet a buyer, bring them on by. And so I'm producing this video for her and you as to what to do and say when you meet someone who's interested in selling their home by themselves on their own. Now, I also want to encourage you to, if you're watching this on YouTube, click the settings icon on the bottom of the video here, and you can play this back at a faster speed. So I highly recommend you do that. And watch this video over and over again. In addition to that, I'm going to insert a link below this video that you can click on that will bring you to Dropbox. You can download this presentation that's put together in PowerPoint. You can download it on your computer and customize it any which way you like. Okay, without any further ado, let's get started. So what's interesting, when I first learned about this, we had 3-ring binders, and they had clear plastic front sheets in it. And what Floyd recommended we do is we take the front of that book and have in huge letters on the front of the book, it says, what every for sale by owner should know. And we would put this literally in the front of that book, and then we'd put the book on the table and just leave it there for the homeowner to see it. And of course, it would strike up some curiosity, and I always thought it was kind of funny and cute. But anyway, so we'll start off the presentation with this slide here. You're in the property, you have an appointment. You've asked the for sale by owner, say, may I talk to you a little bit about what we can do and why, and what some things you need to know in regard to selling your home on your own and how an agent might help out. And if they say yes, and most of them will, here's what you present to them. So you start off the first slide, what every for sale by owner should know. And I explained to the homeowner there are 3 facts that you should know. I'm going to go through the 3 of them right now. Number 1 fact is sellers have been employing real estate agents for over 100 years. So you have to ask yourself why. I mean, why would we as a profession still exist if over 100 years if there wasn't some huge value that we were bringing to the table? Clearly, we would have gone out of business, or the function and the role that we serve in the home buying and selling process is very important. Otherwise, we wouldn't still be in business. Would you agree with that? Second thing is 80% or more right now, it's actually much higher than 80% right now, of for sale by owners list with a real estate agent. So you have to ask yourself, why would the vast majority of people who are trying to sell their home on their own eventually hire an agent? The third thing you should know is that real estate agents get a higher price and in less time. In fact, if you go back to any year through the National Association of Realtor Statistics, they will show different percentages in different years how much more a real estate agent can net a seller in their pocket even after paying the brokerage fee. So you have to ask yourself, why is that? How is it that a real estate agent can sell your home and end up with a higher price and sell it in less time and put more money in your pocket even after you pay the brokerage fee? So let's do a quick recap. There are the 3 things again are sellers have been employing us for over 100 years. 83 or 80+% of for sale by owners list with a real estate agent. Real estate agents get a higher price and less time. So why? Why are those things? Well, there are 6 obvious reasons. I'm so glad you asked that question. I'm going to give you 6 obvious reasons. Let me illustrate. Reason number 1, Serious buyers only shop for sale by owners to do one thing, and that is to save the commission. And let me ask you a question. Why are you selling on your own? To save the commission, right? So you have to find it a bit ironic. So let me give you an example. Here's a typical Sunday Globe. We literally went through and circled all the ads in the Sunday Globe, and there were 2,900 broker ads, and there are 266 for sale by owners, and there were just some other miscellaneous ads. So, 8.4% of the for sale by owners. Look at the brokers. 91.4% of the ads out there are from real estate brokers. So you have to ask yourself, why would a buyer eliminate 90+% of all the homes on the market? And the answer, of course, is to save the commission. They're looking to get a great deal. See, unfortunately, you as a homeowner, you're literally setting yourself up there to attract people who are trying to get a bargain. But that's what you're trying to do at the same time. So unfortunately, you're attracting the wrong type of prospects. In fact, I've been to real estate investment seminars, and they tell real estate investors to prey on for sale by owners because they're not always being professionally represented, and they're not always sure what to do and how to do it. So they could potentially take advantage of them and even negotiate a better price with a for sale by owner. Reason number 2, the law of supply and demand. The more buyers we have access to, the more valuable your property is and the quicker it will sell. I mean, consider this. I mean, I think about an auction. If we have an auction and 2 people show up, and we have another auction and 2,000 people show up, in which one of those 2 auctions are you more likely to get the most amount of money for the items at your auction? Well, clearly the one with the most amount of people. So consider this. Let's say we know for a fact that there are 1,356 real estate agents right now working in our market area. There are, on average, the National Association of Realtors tells us that on average a real estate agent is working with approximately 10 prospects at any time. Now, if we have 1,356 agents working with 10 prospects each, there are 13,560 prospects out there. And the average days on the market right now are 63 days on the market. And if you needed to be sold within a specific amount of time, and I have to ask you the question, how many prospects do you have? And if you have 10 prospects on your own instead of 13,560, it might take you a lot longer than 63 days to get your home sold, and or you may never get it sold. So that's something to consider for sure. That's number 2 of the 6 reasons why we've been in business for over 100 years and we help people get more money and sell it in a shorter period of time. Number 3 is the difficulty of separating lookers from buyers. Have you ever seen a buyer walk in the door, and have you been able to tell just by looking at them if they're a looker or a buyer? Well, of course not. You can't tell by looking at them. So let me give you an example. So at an open house, for instance, let's say you have an open house at your property. 70% of the people that walk in your door have frozen equity, and I'll tell you what that means in a minute. 15% prefer to rent, 11% can't afford to buy your home, they're just looking, and 4% are ready, willing, and able to buy the property. So let's go back to the top to frozen equity. Frozen equity means that they have to sell their home in order to buy. So if they can't sell their home in order to buy, then clearly they can't buy your property, but they're looking at it anyway and wasting your time. So how can you, as a for sale by owner, of course, and I say this very respectfully, how can you help them sell their home? Well, you can't. They have to sell it on their own. And but if you work with a real estate agent, we can help them sell their home, release that frozen equity so that they can buy your property. So you can see that our odds of getting the sale put together if they have the frozen equity are much greater. So how do you identify the 4%? These are the people that are ready, willing, and able. And by the way, you would need to have 100 prospects in order for 4 of them to be ready, willing, and able to kind of put this in perspective in regard to numbers. So think about this. If a buyer came to you and as a part of their offer, needed to sell their home first, and it wasn't even on the market yet, and they were going to sell it themselves for sale by owner, knowing what you know now at this point, would you take your home off the market for 45 to 60 days to see if they could sell their property? So you can't afford to do that. And if you're trying to buy a property right now and selling your home for sale by owner, it gives you very weak and very little leverage when it comes to you buying a property while you're trying to go through this process at this time. So it makes you for a weak buyer, if that's what your goal is and what your intention is. Now, reason number 4, the longer it takes to sell, the more money the for sale by owner loses. Let me explain. So we want to look at some possible drawbacks, financial drawbacks to an increased marketing time the longer your property stays on the market. So interest rates might go up. So you may say to me, yes, but they might go down. Well, they could go up, and if they go up, you lose. So that's not a good thing. More importantly, did you know that if interest rates go up just 1%, it decreases your purchasing power by as much as 10%. So if you're looking at a $500,000 loan or a property and interest rates go up 1%, well, now you can only afford $450,000 instead of $500,000. So that can make a massive difference when rates go up. And it also will shorten the buyer pool of buyers who can afford to look at your property. Second bullet down, when mortgage rates increase, existing home values tend to stabilize or go down. That could affect the value of your property. Third bullet, traditionally, new homes appreciate in value on average of 10% per year. On a $2,000 a month mortgage, as much as $1,750 may be thrown away in interest. That's a waste. You could be missing out on tax advantages. In addition to that, you're paying property taxes. That's not going towards any investment. The last bullet is you might end up making 2 payments on 2 different houses. So what you want to do is you want to look at which one of these 6 bullets might apply to you and how would it affect you financially. So that's definitely something to consider. Number 5, reason number 5. MS equals E equals P equals V plus. Well, what does that mean? Well, it's a formula. And the formula states that marketing services, the more marketing services you have, the more exposure your property gets. The more exposure your property gets, the more prospects you have. The more prospects you have, the more it increases the value of your property. This is true with any product. We could be talking about a pair of sneakers, a house. You could be talking about a lamp, anything you want. So let me give you an example. So real estate agents, and we especially at Century 21, we have a plethora of marketing services that we offer our clients. These are not all of them. These are just some generic basic ones. If you're watching this video and you have access to this PowerPoint presentation, I highly recommend you customize this area and put in a lot of the really neat and cool marketing services that Century 21 and you personally may be providing that the for sale by owner can't provide on their own. So here are a list of samples just to get you going, and you put the check marks next to the realtor and you don't put any check marks next to the for sale by owner, or you ask the for sale by owner, which one of these marketing services can you supply? And the situation is going to be that you're going to be able to provide a lot more marketing services. So because you're applying more marketing services, well, that's going to give them more exposure, which will equal more prospects. And the more people you have at that looking at the property, that will increase the value. Going back to that auction-like atmosphere again, the more people that show up, the greater the value of the products are going to be. Okay? Reason number 6, third-party negotiating saves your money. I love this because imagine if you, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, had a professional negotiator going with you everywhere you go in life, from a retail store to buying appliances, to buying an automobile, to buying a shirt and tie. If you had a professional negotiator with you everywhere you go all the time, in your lifetime, you would save a tremendous amount of money. So consider this. Real estate agents are trained negotiators. They're not emotionally involved. They're knowledgeable about the market. They understand the needs of both parties, the buyers and the sellers, and they're able to get people to come together. I've seen more transactions fall apart when a buyer and seller have direct contact with each other and refuse to go through the agents because emotions get involved. And when emotions get involved, it almost never comes together, and someone gets insulted or upset, and the whole transaction ends up falling apart. So having a third-party negotiator is absolutely huge. I mean, even large corporations, countries in the world, they don't send the leaders of the countries. They send the negotiators out there to talk to each other. Even large companies who are selling and buying each other, they don't send the CEOs or the presidents or the owners of those companies and put them in the room to talk to each other. They have lawyers and negotiators and people who are specially trained in this area. It is absolutely imperative that we pay attention to this. So you have to ask yourself, who is going to negotiate in your best interest? And if it's yourself, it's not a good scene. I mean, what you have to consider is that even real estate brokers use other real estate brokers to sell their houses because real estate agents know the power of third-party negotiating. Third-party negotiating saves you a ton of money. Very, very powerful. Okay, so let's recap. For sale by owners eventually use agents because of these 6 reasons. Serious buyers only shop for sale by owners to save the commission. Number 2, the law of supply and demand. Number 3, difficulty of separating lookers from buyers. Number 4, owners lose money the longer it takes to sell. Number 5, MS equals E equals P equals V. Marketing services equal more exposure equals more prospects equal more value for your property. And number 6, third-party negotiating saves your money. So what you really have to look at here is that what you end up with in your pocket is more important than what you pay in terms of a brokerage fee. Like, you may sell your home and say to yourself, well, you saved the brokerage fee, but what did you net in your pocket? Net bottom line. On average, it's anywhere from 2 to 6% less than if you had used an agent. So agents not only pay for their brokerage fee, but in addition to that, they even help you net even more money in your pocket. And here's the key. You have to ask yourself this question. Would you like to make less money and do all the work? Or would you like to make more money and have me handle the sale for you? Well, I think the answer to that question is obvious. You'd want to hire me to get your home sold in the shortest amount of time so you can net the most amount of money. Doesn't that make sense?